And let's replace that by increasing this tax right here. Tariffs from goods from other countries. So now that we all have a foundation of how our tax system works, where the government is going to collect taxes from you and then they're going to spend all that money and then some with the help of debt, let's now talk about, could we actually feasibly use tariffs as a replacement for the income tax? Now, I do want to let you know that if you're an investor and you like to stay up to date on what's happening in things like the economy and things like the stock market, things like the housing market, the crypto market, and the global economy, my team at Briefs Media publishes an amazing free newsletter every day called Market Briefs, where we break down what's happening in the economy, in the financial markets, into a quick and witty and fun to read newsletter. You can read it in less than 5 minutes every morning, and it's completely free. We have hundreds of thousands of investors that are reading Market Briefs every morning. So if you'd like to join for free, I have the link for you to join down in the description below. In 2024, the IRS collected about $5.1 trillion in income taxes. And then out of the $5.1 trillion that they collected, the IRS then had to pay back a little bit over $500 billion in the form of tax refunds and credits. So let's just say, we'll call it that the government collected around $4.5 trillion in the form of income taxes. Now, I know I'm just a random guy on YouTube, but if I did some basic math, if you want to get rid of the income tax, I think that you'd have to collect an additional $4.5 trillion in the form of tariffs in order to negate that. So I did a little bit of digging, and according to the United States Customs and Border Protection website, here's what I found. There were about $3.35 trillion of goods imported into the United States in 2022, of which we generated around $111 billion in tariffs. Now, I know that was based off of 2022 numbers, but that's the best data that we have from the government agencies themselves. But if we take a look at the 2022 numbers, that means, in theory, the government would have to impose something like a 130% tariff on all imported goods into the United States in order to generate $4.5 trillion based off of the $3 trillion or so that was brought in or imported into the United States in 2022, which doesn't seem very feasible. Not to mention the fact that the goal of tariffs is to bring some manufacturing back to the United States, which might have you thinking, if we slap on big tariffs and some more manufacturing comes back into the United States, we might have even less imported goods because less goods are being made overseas. So if less goods are being made overseas, more goods are being made here, less goods are being imported, that means less tariffs are being collected. So based off of the 2022 numbers, to just rely on tariffs to offset the income tax seems very difficult unless, of course, the government cuts down their spending as well.